Hey y'all, this is Rebecca Crowley and this is my best practices presentation. For the first video, I chose to do the active participation video for 2nd grade. In this video, the teacher modeled how to use choral responses and partner responses. For choral responses, you would introduce the procedure, model the procedure, and allow the student to practice until consistent responding occurs. This means that you would want all of your students to be saying the same thing consistently and correctly. For partner responses, this allows you to present the information in a way that peers can have conversations with each other about the targeted information or skill that they are learning. You want to ensure that you are using different wording across students so that they are able to have that back and forth conversation with each other. You also want to assign partners randomly so that they get experience working with all students within the classroom and not just one. You could do this by creating a number system or using an app that generates numbers or a way to split up your students. You also want to use the look, lean, and whisper strategy where the students are able to look at each other, lean in, and whisper using their inside voice to allow these students to pay attention to what's being said. The video also showed classroom management skills. You want to be able to anticipate student behavior. For example, if an unfamiliar person was present in the classroom, you would want to be sure to address this with your students first before the lesson so that they are not distracted while you're trying to teach. You also want to set clear expectations, such as behavior expectations. You want to model these behaviors and allow these students to practice these behaviors so that they know exactly what you want them to do during your whole group as well as your independent lessons. You also want to review the seating arrangements and make sure that you make the necessary adjustments before the lesson so that if you have a student that it's hard for them to focus, you wouldn't want to sit them by the door or a window. You would want to have them closer to you so that you could keep an eye on their participation and their focus throughout the lesson. Next, the video talked about keeping students' attention. Ways that you can do that is by using a steady or exciting pace to keep it upbeat and so that you're not going too slow and not having a lag for students to daydream or have wandering eyes. You also want to, make use of your students' names. Call them by name, call on them to answer or to participate with you, have conversation with you. Smile, make eye contact. You might want to use some subtle touches, such as a touch on the arm. Use verbal or physical cues, such as, eyes on me, or give me a thumbs up if you're ready to continue. You could also do your student monitoring where you walk around the classroom during their independent or partner practices so that you make sure everyone's on task. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you're giving praise and positive reinforcement so that they have that feedback from you that they're doing well. I would use this information in my own classroom by having students participate in whole group lessons on the carpet together, transitioning back to their desk for individual work, using partner responses to encourage those conversations with each other about the material, formatting my lessons to the I do, we do, you do, where I model it, then we do it together, and then they practice on their own. And then ensuring that all of our learning styles, the visual, audio, tactile, kinesthetic learning styles are being reached with videos, songs, repetition, and concrete examples. The second video I chose was the vocabulary instruction video for 2nd grade. this video modeled where, the lesson development would be you choose a book or a short story to read. You pick out a few of the unfamiliar words, and you give brief explanations of these while you're reading, but don't go too far into detail to where they can still listen to the story and hear how these words are used. Then when you want to introduce the new words, you would write the word on the board and pronounce the word, have the student repeat the word, give them a student-friendly definition, a definition in your own words, using words that are easy for them to understand. You want to illustrate with examples, show pictures, verbal examples by sharing experiences, or using those concrete examples such as an object that you could pass around the classroom. And then you want to check for that student understanding and ask questions, have them discern between their examples and non-examples, and have students generate their own examples. The video also showed that you want to actively involve your students by, again, using that group or choral response, the partner responses. But if you use partner responses, you want to ensure that, they're long, different word answers so that it does generate those, the conversations, the back and forth, which is what the followed by individual turns means. So you want that back and forth conversation about the material. And then a physical indication of having an answer. That could simply be, give me a thumbs up when you're ready to continue, or if you have an answer if you can tell me what this word is. The video also showed that you could enrich the instruction by, possibly giving multiple exposures to the words, reviewing at the end with simple word associations, and having the students suggest other ways that the words can be used. For using the information, I would use the vocabulary instruction by using maybe a vocabulary graphic organizer. For example, this one over here, they could write the word. It has a space for them to draw a picture of the word, write the word in a sentence, write the dictionary definition, as well as a space for their own worded definition, a place for synonyms, and a place for an antonym. But this is just a way that they can organize all of their thoughts about the word, and if they have any questions, and you can really ensure that they do have an understanding of the word. You could also check for understanding with maybe a vocabulary quiz at the end of the week. For video number 3, I chose the word and sentence dictation for 2nd grade. In this video, it shows how you would use correct spelling skills in order to communicate, how spelling is strengthened, or when spelling skills are strengthened, it strengthens the decoding skills, which in turn strengthens your reading skills. Overall, this would increase your product quality from your cognitive thinking skills. So it's really important that students learn how to correctly spell words. The video showed different procedures. It showed a procedure for a simple word dictation, and it also showed procedures for a sentence dictation. For the word dictation, the teacher would simply say the word, use the word in a sentence, have the students repeat the word. The teacher and students would clap out the syllables of the word. You would have the students say the sounds as they write out the word, and then the teacher would write the correct way to spell the word on the board. And if the student made a mistake, they would immediately rewrite the word. Then for sentence dictation, it's pretty similar, but the teacher would say the entire sentence, have the students repeat the sentence. The teacher would dictate the first part of the sentence for the students to start writing, and as they're writing this, you would walk around and monitor the students as they write to ensure that you can give that immediate feedback for if they're making an error or give that positive reinforcement for if they're doing it correctly, to have them continue to do so. Again, more best practices that the video showed for this is the teacher monitoring, using that quick pace, the immediate feedback, your praise, and your behavior expectations for the instructions to in turn create a positive environment. I would use this in my classroom by incorporating it with their weekly spelling test. I could dictate sentences using their weekly spelling words and use some of the words that they previously learned in other weeks. This way I could ensure that they're maintaining the words that they're learning instead of just writing them that one time and then forgetting it. For video number 4, I chose modeling retell for first grade. This video is talking about, showing and telling the students how to perform a retell, and it wants you to make sure that the students are responding, especially for those longer demonstrations, so that they don't lose focus throughout the lesson. You want to make sure that you have all of your materials planned and readily available so that there's no lag, and you can keep that steady pace. You want to ensure that you're monitoring your students and giving that praise again so that the positive environment is there. You also want to make sure you're showing and telling your students how to retell, as well as involving them in this process. Monitoring and coaching students through this process, you want to make sure that you do use that partner response so that they can have these conversations. You want to walk around and interact with them, have them interact with each other, and look to see what others are doing. If you need to give them a verbal cue or prompt, you could use "what happened next?" You could also have their partners ask "what happened next?" to further enrich the lesson. Using this information in the classroom, I would show this by the 5-finger retell mnemonic, as well as a similar graphic organizer, so that you could use your 5 fingers and remember the key parts of retelling the story, and then using this graphic organizer as a clear way for them to know where to put this information. You could also easily develop this into the I do, we do, you do format. And the last video I chose was the decoding instruction for kindergarten. This video, really this part stood out to me, was decoding is essential, but it's not sufficient for comprehension. In order for comprehension to occur, you also have to have the vocabulary skills, language skills, and background knowledge, but decoding is an essential part for comprehension. One instructional routine that it showed in the video was where the teacher would first write the letter and then ask the students for the sound, write the second letter, again ask for the sound, run their finger under the first 2 letters and have the students blend it, write out the third letter, ask for the sound, and then run the finger under all 3 letters and blend it together. One strategy for reading through a list of words, you would point to the word, have the students sound it out silently, then give you a thumbs up when they know the word. Use that whisper and lean strategy that we talked about in the earlier part of the session. They would whisper the word to the partner, you would ask them again for the word, and erase the word. You want to make sure you're rereading your sentences, stressing the meaning of words, using clear language and repetition, as well as gestures and demonstrations. You again want to use your verbal cues, your positive reinforcement, and all of these allow for the positive environment to be maintained. I would use this in my classroom with air writing, shaving cream, sand tray writing. You could have the students write out the letter, the sound they hear, and choose the method for that day, and use the sensory to remember the sounds and decode the skill. Thank you for your time.